Hello everyone, Link the Duelist here, back with another video on a deck profile of Gouki's. This was actually one of the first decks that I built after getting back into the game. I do believe I mentioned that in my first video. But it's a little rough, but when I did take it into playtesting over at the guy's house, it did go about in the first matchup. It went about 1-2 out of the best 2 out of 3, and then the second one it lost with a 1 out of 2, obviously. First deck, it was against the Gunkins, which in no way is that a weak deck. The second one was Riki's, and its tribute effect was just a little bit too much for this deck to manage, all except for one time. Because this deck does come in clutch every now and then, but yeah, it's a great deck. I wouldn't really say it's super competitive, but you can make it that way. This is more of a casual version. I play it like more of a casual version, but this deck can be run as a competitive. But with that out of the way, let's get into the deck profile. First up, we obviously have the main starter, 3 Gouki Suprex. If he is normal summoned, you can special summon 1 Gouki monster from your hand to your side of the field. And every Gouki monster does this, except for maybe like a few. If he is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add a Gouki card from your deck. That effect can only be once per turn, though. And most of their first effects don't go off just once per turn, so you can use their first effects. I might be wrong on that. Some of them you can only use each effect, but he can be used multiple times, not mistaken. That last effect's the only one that goes through. There's only one that's once per turn. So, up next we have Gouki Headbat. When he, if this card is in your hand, you can send 1 other Gouki monster from your hand to the graveyard. Then target 1 Gouki monster you control. Special summon this card in defense position. And if you do, the target monster gains 800 attack until the end of this turn. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 Gouki card from your deck to your hand, obviously, except for the designated card. Up next, we have 2 Twist Cobra. He's a quick effect. You can tribute 1 Gouki monster that target 1 Gouki monster you control. It gains attack equal to the original attack of the tributed Gouki monster until the end of this turn. If this card is sent to the field, from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 Gouki. I think, yeah, that's the usual thing. But he's good for boosting up your Gouki monsters. Like Gouki Powerload Ogre, he's one of your most versatile, but he doesn't have the most attack. Up next, we have 2 Iron Claw. During the damage step, when your Gouki monster battles an opponent's monster, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. Until the end of this turn, your monster gains 500 attack, and if it does, it is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. So it's kind of like a hand trap for your Gokis. Up next, we have two Gouki Guts. He is your, when he's in defense position, cannot be destroyed by battle. So if, you brick, set him down, can't be destroyed by battle. But, yeah, he gets messed up by card effects of destroy. But during your main phase, you can make all Gouki monsters you control gain 200 attack. This one, unfortunately, once per turn. Hold on. Yeah, you can only use both those effects once per turn. Up next, we have Gouki Octastretch. He is another one of your hand traps. Basically, if he's in your hand and your opponent declares an attack, you can discard him and you take half damage during that turn. And if you take, if he's in your hand when you take battle damage, or effect damage, sorry, you can discard him and then that damage is halved. So he's just good at halving damage, which can be useful, especially in this deck. Up next, we have the one Gouki Risk Scorpio. If you control no monsters, or all monsters you control are Gouki, you can normal summon this card without tributing. Unfortunately, that's not special summon. I don't know why, that's kind of a missed opportunity, but if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one good card from your deck to your hand. Yeah, that's the usual effect. Then, outside of the Goukis, we have 3 Fireflint Lady. I'd say probably your designated Gouki for what she does. If you control a warrior monster, you can spell summon this card from your hand. You can only send this card. You can send this card from the field to the graveyard to spell summon 1 level 4 or lower warrior monster from your hand. And if you do, your opponent cannot target it with card effects. So if you wanted one of your low-level Goukis in the field, that's like a level 4 or lower, not only is she extension, the first part's mainly what I use her for. Not only is she an extension, she can put a Gouki monster on your field that's level 4 or lower, and then prevent it from being destroyed by card effects. For example, like, let's say you have her on the field and you have a Gouki in your hand that's not Risk Scorpio, because he can't be going off that effect. But you have one of your link monsters and it requires more than 1 Gouki, and you only have 1 Gouki on the field, you can use her, bring that Gouki to the field, and you can go into that effect. You can go into that monster. Which maybe came up one time. Up next, we have 2 Dino Wrestler Pankatops. Because why not? And the same guy played both the Dino Wrestlers and the Goukis. Basically, if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can spell summon this card from your hand. And you can only spell summon them like that once per turn. And you can quick effect, you can tribute 1 Dino Wrestler monster, then target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. So not only is he usually a free special summon, a 2600 beat stick, he can also be used to pop one of your opponent's cards. Then we have Marauding Captain. Your opponent cannot target face-up warrior monsters for attacks except this one. When this card is normal summoned, you can spell summon 1 level 4 or lower monster from the hand, which more extension. Then we have a Codebreaker 0 Day. He is literally just for your Codebreaker package. I don't really use his effect other than to go into links, so it's not really important. Then we have 3 Ash Blossoms to round out the monsters. And that would be it for the monsters. So let's get into the spells. The Panks are flex spots. So if you want to put something else in there, you can. It's just what I decided to put in there. Now we have a Gouki Rematch, which you need at least 2 of these. If you want to run 3 in a more pure Gouki deck, you can. Basically, you can target 2 Gouki monsters in your graveyard with different levels and special summon them. Extremely important for the deck. We have Gouki Face Turn. You can target 1 Gouki card you control and 1 Gouki monster in your graveyard, including a Link Gouki monster. Destroy the card in the field, and if you do, special summon the other monster from the graveyard. A good way to put your Gouki, your big Link Gouki monsters back onto the field, if they were to have been obliterated on the field, destroyed. Let's say that. Yeah, destroyed. Then we have 1 Gouki Cage Match. It's not a card you go and use a lot, or get to use it a lot, but let's say if you were to be able to pull off its full effect, you'd probably be winning that game 9 times out of 10. But when this card is activated, put 3 counters on this card. If your Gouki monster destroys an opponent's monster at battle, remove 1 counter from this card. Once per turn, at the end of the battle phase, if the last of these counters has been removed this way, you can spell summon as many Gouki monsters as possible with different names from hand and or deck. So if you do manage to get it off, which is very possible, not done a lot, but it is pretty possible, you can get a bunch of Goukis in your field and go in for all kinds of Link monsters, securing your victory unless the opponent has some crazy negate. Then we have one of the most important spells in the deck, Gouki Finishing Move. Target 1 Gouki Link monster you control. It gains attack equal to the defense of the Link. Gains attack equal to its Link rating times 1000 until the end of this turn. Also, if it attacks a defense position monster this turn, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent for the rest of this turn. After this card resolves, you cannot declare attacks except with Gouki monsters, which is fine because it's almost purely Gouki deck. And we go into the non-Gouki cards. We have 2 World Legacy Succession. Basically, it's a Monster Reborn, an expensive Monster Reborn that brings your monsters back to the field, as long as you have a Link arrow available for it to put there. Yeah, activate this card and special summon a monster from your graveyard to a Link arrow and Link monster points to from your side of the field. Then we have Infernoble Arms Durandal. Basically, this card searches out Fire Flint Lady. I only have 2 of them in there because if you end up having, well, for space, really. Almost entirely just for space. But I felt like I just didn't need the 3rd one. If I did have more fire warriors in the deck, I would have. But if this card is equipped to a monster you control, or I think a monster you control. Let me see. I'm not too sure. When this card is equipped to a monster, okay, so just any monster, you can add 1 level 5 or lower warrior monster from your deck to your hand. Then destroy this card. If this card is sent to the graveyard because the equipped monster is sent to the graveyard, you can target 1 level 5 or lower warrior fire monster in your graveyard and special summon it. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except warrior monsters. So we really only use that first effect because it's not very often you're going to get this card on a monster and that monster get destroyed immediately. Then we go into United We Stand for the extra beef in your monster's attack. I didn't actually get to use it at all during the playtesting. Oh, then we have Moon Mirror Shield for times whenever they got super beefy monster, let's say, especially now that Memento is running around. I don't really think this deck would compete too well against Memento, especially a good one. But if necessary and they got a 5,000 beat stick, that card will come in clutch. Unless, of course, they're in a gate and then you're probably screwed. But outside of that, we have Called by the Grave. 1 for 1 because we have a decent portion of level 1 monsters. Reinforcement of the Army for the special summon and search. Monster Reborn, Raigeki, and Harpy's Feather Duster. And that would be it for the spells. On to the traps, and we just play 3 Imperms because we need some kind of gate. And this is a personal attack. I might switch it out because every time I put it on the field, it ends up getting destroyed before I could use it. And I'd say if I wasn't running most of the tech cards in here, and it's pretty obvious which ones were the techs, you could put a Destiny Hero Destroyer, Phoenix Enforcer package into the deck. But my personal thing I'm doing right now is Ultimate's Offering. It's the retrain of Ultimate Offering. During your main phase, you can pay 1,000 life points. You can conduct up to 3 normal summons / sets this turn. Not just one. During your opponent's battle phase, you can pay 500 life points. Immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon 1 monster. Usually you get Goukis in your hand, especially if they left the field. So if you just have a stockpile of Goukis in your hand, that's 3 whole normal summons. But that would be it for the traps and the main deck. Up next, we have the extra deck, which is mostly up to your choice. But I run Gouki Powerload Ogre, the essential one. Because not only does it gain attack equal to the combined link rating of all other link monsters you control by 200, giving them more attack. This link summon card is unaffected by other card effects, and that did help a lot with the Rikis when I fought him, because he can't be tributed off by their effects. Let's see here. You contribute 1 Gouki link monster, then target cards in the field up to its link rating and destroy them. So he's a good pop if you have another Gouki link monster in the field. Great card, you definitely need him, and he is the only Gouki Link monster to only require warrior monsters and not Gouki monsters. Which is unfortunate, because I feel like more of them should have been able to do that. But, that's how it works. Then we got Gouki Master Ogre, one of my favorites by design. Once per turn, quick effect, you can return to the hand any number of Gouki monsters you control this card this points to, and target the same number of face-up cards your opponent controls. They have their effects negated until the end of this turn. You can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. If your opponent controls a face-up monster, this card can only target their monsters with the highest attack for attacks. Your choice if tied. Then we have the Gouki Great Ogre, our 3000. He's the highest attack in the deck. Cannot be destroyed by battle, and is unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's monsters with attack less than or equal to this card. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets this card and or a monster this card points to, quick effect, you can make this card lose exactly 500 attack, and if you do, negate the activation. Once per turn, this card attack is different from its original attack. Quick effect, you can make this card gain 1000 attack until the end of this turn. Sorry. But, he's your negate. He's good. You'll need him. I don't think every Gouki user uses him, but I see no reason not to, and he's in here. Then we got Gouki Destroy Ogre. First time each monster this card points to will be destroyed in battle each turn. It is not destroyed, so he's a good coverage. During your main phase, you can activate this effect. You cannot spell summon monsters for the rest of this turn except Gouki monsters. Also, your opponent spell summons 1 or 2 monsters from their graveyard. Then you can spell summon up to that many non-link Gouki monsters from your graveyard to a zone zones this card points to. Then we have Appaloosa for your negates, and it's a link deck, so why would you not use her? We have Access Code Talker, same reason. He can just pop some of your opponent's cards, and he can get really tall, really big. Then we have Codebreaker, Virus Berserker. He is literally only to go into other Link monsters. Link extensions. Then we have Gouki the Great Ogre, which very much came in clutch several of those games. All monsters in the field lose attack equal to the original defense. If this card will be destroyed in battle or card effect, you can destroy 1 monster this card points to instead. So he doesn't like to go down, and he can very much nerf your opponent's monsters, depending on their defense. He is also the very card I discovered the Goukis from. I ended up getting them in a pack and never heard of them until then, and I liked the design, so I looked them up, and here we are today. We got a full-fledged Gouki deck. Then we have Gouki Thunder Ogre. If a monster this card points to is destroyed in battle or card effect, you can make this card gain 400 attack. The turn player applies the following effect with each monster on the field. During the main phase, you can normal summon 1 monster they can normal summon one monster from their hand to their zone this card points to, in addition to their normal summon class set. So he's good for that secondary normal summon, which this deck does kind of crave. Then we have Gouki the Blade Ogre. I did summon him a lot. Sometimes it worked, sometimes he got destroyed almost immediately. Gains 300 attack for each monster it points to. Once per turn, you contribute one monster this card points to. On either field, this card can make a second attack during each battle phase's turn. Then we have some more generics. Now in this spot, I did have this guy, Rotten the Heavenly General. But he is a rank 3, and I found myself needing, through several of the duels, lacking in level 2, link 2s to get on the field. So I put him on the field, or I put him in the deck instead. Figured might as well. He just requires 2 different names, 2 monsters with different names. All monsters in the field gain... All warrior monsters in the field gain 500 attack. If this card is link summoned, if this link summoned card is destroyed at battle or by an opponent's card effect while in its owner's monster zone, you can target one non-link warrior monster in your graveyard and spell summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. So if he's destroyed or something, you get another monster out of your graveyard. It's pretty great. Then we have Codebreaker Virus Swordsman. He's usually your starter for the Codebreaker package. But again, the effects aren't great, but he's mainly used to link climb. Then you got IP Masquerena to bring out some of your monsters and have them unaffected by card effects. And then lastly, we have Gouki Heal Ogre. He's your level 2. If you don't really need him, or you want to switch out Furious Flame Swordsman, you can always put Gouki Jet Ogre in there. But I found myself not necessarily needing him because he's too reliant on the Gouki effect. He needs Goukis on the field. And I figured this one would work better because once per turn, when a monster this card points to activates its effect, quick effect, you can negate the activation if you do destroy it. Then you can special summon one Gouki monster from your deck to the graveyard. But that's it for the extra deck. And the Earth's Arctics will be on the way as the next deck profile I do, since it was a tie on this recent poll. Said I'd do the runner-up and the main winner, and there was 2 runner-ups, so next deck profile will be Earth's Arctic. If you would like to, please feel free to comment your favorite deck in the comments. Outside of that, please do like and subscribe, and Link the Duelist out.